They say you don't truly know a woman until she thinks she's already won. I spent 20 years building a real estate empire in the concrete jungle of Chicago. Also, Olivia could live like a queen in a penthouse made of glass and ego. She's 45, but she carries herself with a lethal kind of grace. She's a masterpiece of high-end maintenance, skin bronzed to perfection, legs that seem to go on forever, and a body that still fits into the same lace lingerie she wore on our honeymoon. When she walks, you can hear the faint rhythmic rustle of silk against her thighs. She smells like expensive bourbon and cold ambition. For years, the way she looked at me across a dark room was the only thing that kept me hungry. But last night, at our daughter's engagement dinner, the silk came off and the claws came out. We were sitting in a private room at the city's most expensive steakhouse. My hands, rough, scarred, and thick from years on construction sites, looked out of place on the white linen. One of our guests, a polished young architect, asked how I managed the 2008 crash. Before I could even open my mouth, Olivia cut me off with a laugh that felt like a blade to the ribs. She leaned back, the candlelight catching the diamond-encrusted curve of her throat, and looked at me like I was the hired help. "Oh, Jack is the muscle of the operation," she purred, her eyes scanning the room for a laugh. "He's great for the heavy lifting and the primitive side of business. But let's be honest, he's the foundation, and I'm the architecture. Without my refinement, he'd still be wearing a hard hat and eating lunch out of a tin box." The table went silent. My daughter looked at her plate. Olivia just took a slow, deliberate sip of her vintage Cabernet, her eyes locking onto mine with a predatory smirk. She thought she had me broken. She thought the physical hold she had on me was enough to keep me quiet while she stripped away my soul. I didn't argue. I didn't flip the table. I just looked at the woman I'd built a world for. The woman whose soft, perfumed skin I'd defended for half my life, and realized she wasn't my wife. She was my biggest liability. I stood up, wiped my mouth with a silk napkin, and leaned down to her ear. The scent of her hair was intoxicating, but for the first time in my life, I felt nothing but cold clarity. I whispered 6 words that turned her face from bronze to ghost white. I walked out into the Chicago wind, leaving the empire behind. If you've ever been underestimated by the person you love most, subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. 3 months later, she called me from a motel. The designer clothes were gone. The architecture was crumbling. "Jack," she sobbed, "the accounts are empty. I can't live like this." I hung up, and for the first time in 20 years, I breathed.